Hello, my name is Chloe, welcome to my channel. Today I'm bringing to you my November wrap-up. So I think I did really well in November, seeing as I had a whole week off of reading. I still read 21 books. They were some shorter titles, so the total page count over 21 books was 6,783 pages. 14 of those were normal physical books, 5 of those were audiobooks, and 2 of them were graphic novels. So the ratings were as follows. I had 1 5-star book. I finally got a 5-star. 5 4-star books, 1 3.5-star book, 4 3-star books, 3 2-star books, 1 1.5-star, 2 1-stars, and 4 books I didn't give a rating. So let's go through the books. Saying that, I have my lunch right here. I am absolutely starving. It's currently the 1st of December and I for some reason planned this video to go up on the 2nd. So it's currently my lunch break. I'm absolutely starving and I will be taking food breaks. So starting off with the books I didn't rate, the first one I want to talk about is an audiobook, which is Cellar of Horror, the story of Gary Heidnik, which the author's name has completely disappeared from my mind. But this was a true crime story, obviously about Gary Heidnik and the women he abducted and held hostage and murdered. And yeah, it was quite something. So I didn't give this one a rating because I was listening to the audiobook and I really did treat it like a podcast. I don't think I paid that much attention to it at all. So I didn't want to give it an actual rating on how good it was written because quite frankly, I don't know. And I also found that this one really stuck with me. I can listen to true crime stories, but then I thought, I guess when I listen to a true crime podcast, it's no more than 2 hours. I listened to 10-11 hours of this story and it was horrific. So it really stuck with me. I still think about it. But yeah, I didn't give it a rating on the quality of the book. I really don't know in this case. The next one I didn't give a rating is Pumpkinheads by Rainbow Rowell and Faith Erin Hicks. This was cute. I wanted to read it this month because it's set at Halloween and I didn't want to leave it for another year on my shelves. It is a very adorable graphic novel about 2 friends, Deja and Josiah, who always work at the fall festival. It's not a fall festival, I've made that up. They always work at the pumpkin patch. And yeah, so they say goodbye every Halloween and they're reunited every September 1st. But this is set on their last ever season working the pumpkin patch, and it's all about romances that have happened over the time they're there. It's very predictable, but it was cute. I think I read this whole thing in about 20 minutes. I will be unhauling it, and I'm not giving it a rating just because I do not understand what I was supposed to get from this. I know that sounds horrible, but in terms of actual enjoyment, it probably wouldn't get more than a 2-star, but I appreciate that the art is really good, so I don't know. The other graphic novel for the month is another of the ones I didn't rate, and that is Vampire Academy by, well, Rochelle Mead, but adapted by Lee Dragoon. Didn't read that until just this second, I do apologise. But this is, sorry, it's got a library reflective cover on it. It is the graphic novel written of the Vampire Academy book, and I breezed through it. It was very easy, but I did find that because I've read the actual book and I've watched the movie several times, that I was just thinking about the movie. I wasn't really paying attention to this at all. So I don't know how good this is as a standalone of the series, because it obviously was a little bit quicker. It was quite choppy at times, but I didn't feel right to rate it when all I was thinking about was the movie, which I love. And the final book I didn't rate this month is Villainous Victorians, one of the Horrible Histories books by Terry Deary. I now have 4 more books left to read of this series. I asked Cole's niece and she does want the full box, so I have 4 more that I need to read before my flights. But yeah, sped through Villainous Victorians last night. You may know if you've been watching my wrap-ups for a while, I don't give these books numbered ratings just because I know I'm not the intended audience. So that doesn't necessarily mean that I don't rate middle grades, because you will see there are many middle grades in here, but this is a book written for children in terms of helping them learn about history, and I feel like Quite a lot of this I already know, or I know from the TV show, so I'm not learning from this book, which is why I don't give it a rating. But I did have fun with this. This is just based on crime and punishment in the Victorian era. I did find that a little bit boring because every book up to now is a full period in history, and like crime and punishment will be a part of it. But this one is just on crime and punishment, and I kind of just wanted a whole new period in history instead. Not sure what one they could have gone with, so I guess they were using a filler book. But yeah, that's that one done, and 4 more in this series to go, which you should see in my December wrap up. Okay, moving on to the worst book of this month, and that is Survive the Night by Danielle Vega. This will be making it into my worst books of 2021 list. This was horrific. So I absolutely love The Merciless, which is wedged into that shelf. I actually can't reach it for now. Love The Merciless. It's actually on the back. I could show you. That is a gory YA horror. It's very, very cliche, but it is so much fun. This one was tragic. So it's only 260 pages long, and I can't even tell you the word that means this book is just awful. But we start off in a group of friends where one of them has been to rehab, and they're kind of being brought back into the friendship group, and they decide to go to a rave that is underground in like the sewers and the old underground, but it's not underground because it's America. What is it called? Subway, in the old subway tunnels. And then one of the friends goes missing, and she has been brutally murdered. I was looking for a very, very horrific story about a murderer following them through the tunnels. That is not what you get. So if you want to know the word that will spoil this, but it tells you how stupid it is, then do drop me a message, but I won't spoil it publicly on here. But yeah, it's not a serial killer hunting kids down, which is what I thought it sounded like. And then my other 1-star book this month, which I am really, really sorry about, Emily from Emily Kathleen Reads, is The Knife of Never Letting Go by Patrick Ness. This is a whopper. I did actually listen to the audiobook and follow along just because I had the audiobook and I had to get lots of work done before I went off on my trip. This one, the whole way through, I was thinking, let's rate it 2 stars. And then when I got to the end, I thought, why? What did I enjoy? And the answer is nothing. This is set in a dystopian kind of place where all of the women are dead and all of the men have the noise, so you can hear other men's thoughts. And things start going wrong, and the boy in this meets a girl who doesn't have the noise and isn't dead. Not my thing. Not my thing. Next is one I'm really, really sad about, that I'm giving a 1.5 stars, and that is It's Kind of a Funny Story by Ned Vizzini. I gave this rating before I actually knew what had happened to Ned Vizzini. I won't talk about it here, but I didn't want that to change my rating at all because I'm just trying to rate this book on actually the content of the book. Sorry if that sounds heartless, I really do apologise, but the book I did not enjoy. This is a story about Craig, who is very ambitious. He's got into one of the top high schools in New York, and he starts struggling, and it turns out he is depressed, and he checks himself into a mental ward. And yeah, it says on the back, a book about depression that's not the least bit depressing, and I would definitely disagree with that statement. I found this very depressing and actually quite dull, which is so hard because it's a book about mental health, and I have heard people say that this is one of their favourite books ever. So if this book does something for you, if it ticks all your boxes, then I love that for you. But sadly, this just wasn't what I wanted it to be or what I needed it to be. Next, 2 stars, where I had 3 of them. The first one being Little Creeping Things by Chelsea Itcheso. I buddy read this book with Mal from A Book Fiend Named Mal, and I think she was a little bit nicer on the rating, but I absolutely hated this book. I do not think it was that good at all. This is about Cassidy, who started a fire when she was a child accidentally, but Melody from school has been bullying her about it ever since and saying that she's crazy. So Melody goes missing, and it's exactly the way that Cassidy had wrote down her plan to get rid of her. And then she decides to take it upon herself to solve the case. And I hate stories where the teenagers believe they are smarter than the police and that they can't tell the police anything. Even though they're completely innocent, they can't tell the police anything because then they will look guilty. And yes, you will, but like, if you didn't do it, you didn't do it. This was so dull. It was over and over again Cassidy saying that she couldn't trust anyone, and then she'd accuse somebody with no background to find out that she was wrong, and then she would just accuse somebody else with no background. It was very hard to get through. I did not enjoy it. Next, The Vanishing Stair by Maureen Johnson. I am angry at this book, quite frankly. So this is the second book in the Truly Devious series, which is a YA murder mystery-esque kind of story. I can't actually tell you anything about it, can I? Because it's the sequel. But the first book ends on a cliffhanger, and I thought, you know what, Maureen Johnson, that isn't very nice, because it wasn't just an extra cliffhanger, it was the explanation of what has happened in that book. But whatever, I had the next two books, it's fine, I'll continue reading. This one also leaves you on a cliffhanger, meaning that nothing has really been solved. You're just on edge for the next book, which I think is just a bit rude, because I'm going to have to keep reading these books now. The whole way through, I was going to give it 3 stars, and then that extra cliffhanger happened, and I decided I wasn't very happy with it. So 2 stars. I do have book number 3. I'm going to need to read it soon so I don't forget what happened in this one, but I'm just very happy to finally have it off my TBR. The next 2-star book I have is Fortuna Sworn by KJ Sutton. Don't come at me, please. I would be tempted to retry this book physically, but I listened to the audiobook and I just found I wasn't taking anything in whatsoever, and what I was taking in wasn't making sense. Everything seemed very, very choppy. There were lots of big dramatic things that happened just after, like, over and over, and I didn't really understand the story at all. So for lack of understanding, it gets 2 stars, but I would be tempted to read the physical book and give it another go. But yeah, that's where we are with that one. I won't go on about that too much because I know that's a me problem, not a book problem. On to the 3-star books. The first one I have here is Clean Break by Jacqueline Wilson. This one I did kind of enjoy. This is the story of Em, who lives with her 2 half siblings and her mom and her stepdad. And Christmas morning, the stepdad decides that he is leaving and he has a new girlfriend. And it's kind of a story about how Em is trying to fix up the relationship between her parents, when really that's just not necessarily the best thing to do. This one, it did make me feel things. I did feel quite bad for the family. I was enjoying it. I liked the story, but I can't really say more than that, so it's stuck at 3 stars. Next, I read The Chalk Man by CJ Tudor, which was my buddy read with Emily from Novel Novels, and if anyone would like to discuss the last few pages of this book with me, I would really, really appreciate it, because there's something that makes literally no sense. But this is a story about a town that has been plagued by these chalk figures. I can't even remember what the big reveal is, what the not big reveal, like what we're supposed to know. Either way, people love this book. This book is like 5-starred across the BookTube community, and for me, we're sticking at a 3. I do have The Vanishing of Annie Thorne, which is another of CJ Tudor's books, and I have The Burning Girls, so I'm going to give this author another go, but this book was not for me. Next, we have The Vampire Diaries, The Awakening and the Struggle by L.J. Smith, which I gave 3 stars, and I will say these books should never ever be printed with the TV people on them, because the books are nothing alike to the TV show. So doing this just isn't any good, because the whole time I was picturing it as the characters in the TV show. There are different characters, they have different personalities, and yeah. Overall though, I gave it 3 stars because I did kind of enjoy the story, but it couldn't get any higher than that because I really, really struggled to separate myself from my favourite TV show of all time and this kind of brand new story. I have heard that the rest of the series kind of goes on like L.J. Smith was on far too many drugs, because I think somebody turns into a star at some point. Like, it goes crazy. So I will not be reading past this book. It is done. I can move on with my life. Next, I have Listen to Your Heart by Casey West, which is my final 3-star book this month. This book was kind of adorable. It is about a girl. Oh my god, I finished it like yesterday and I cannot remember any of the details. It's a girl who lives out on a lake area and then she travels into a bigger city for school. She is brought into the podcast club as her elective. I don't really know how American schools work. And she has to become the host of the school podcast, and the podcast they do is a advice podcast, normally for like relationships, bullying, things like that, that are happening in the school. So our main character becomes this podcast host, even though she doesn't really want to be. She doesn't know what sort of advice she can give, but she cracks on with it, and it is a jolly good time. It was very fun, it was very cute, but it was also very predictable, so I left my rating at 3 stars. Next up, we have my 3.5 star book for the month, and that is Walking on Sunshine by Giovanna Fletcher. This makes me so sad. Like, I'm so sorry. This is Rachel's book club pick for the month, and I am the co-host this month, so I'm sure I'll be talking about this in much more detail over on Rachel's channel very soon. But, I was kind of bored. This is a story about 4 friends, and one of them dies, and she has left them a plan for what they need to do to kind of repair themselves and move on without her. And one of the things they do is they go kind of backpacking across some Peruvian mountains and sweltering rainforests. And I just wanted so much more from this that I didn't get. So I've had to stick at 3.5 stars. I really wanted to enjoy it more. I do enjoy Billy and Me by Giovanna Fletcher. That's the only other book I've read, apart from Eve of Man that she does with Tom Fletcher. But sadly, this just didn't give me all the emotions I wanted. So 3.5 stars. And finally, moving on to my favourite section this month, we have 5 physical 4-star reads. Like, how amazing. The first one being The Trouble with Perfect by Helena Duggan. This is the second book in the A Place Called Perfect series, and I actually think I preferred this book over the first one. There is a big reveal in this one about Boy, who is the young boy character. He's called Boy, and it's really, really obvious from the start, but following it through with like a middle grade brain was so enjoyable, and I did really love it, and I can't wait to read The Battle for Perfect, which is book number 3. If you want a very easygoing middle grade series that's also a little bit creepy, because there are plants that grow eyes in this, then I would fully recommend this series. I don't mean to make this so much quicker now, but it's a long video and this is getting cold. I haven't bitten into it yet. So the next 4-star book I have is The Upside of Falling by Alex Light. This was a very, very easy time, and I enjoyed it, I won't lie. This is about Brett and Becca, and Becca makes up a lie that she has been dating Brett or has a boyfriend, and Brett swoons over and kisses her to make the whole school think they're dating. It's very To All the Boys I Loved Before kind of vibes. It says, why couldn't I just stick to reading romance books? Why did my life have to become one? And they basically start to think they're going to enjoy the benefits of fake dating without any of the struggles of heartbreak. But as it's a YA contemporary, we can all see what's going to happen. It's a very short time. I had a smile on my face the whole way through, and I would recommend it. Next, potentially my favourite ever middle grade is The House with Chicken Legs by Sophie Anderson. This is a book based on the Baba Yaga folklore. It's about Marinka, who dreams of a normal life where her house stays in one place long enough for her to make friends, but her house has chicken legs and moves on without warning. And it's about Marinka and her grandmother sending souls through after they die and kind of fulfilling like a little get together on their last night. And yeah, it's very, very emotional at times. I absolutely loved the story. I really, really did love it. And yeah, favourite middle grade of all time, potentially. Okay, I really am speeding up now, but I'm going to slow down after this one. The next one I have is Black Dawn by Rachel Kane, which is the 12th book in the Morganville Vampires series. I don't think I've given any of these books less than a 4 stars. It is such a nostalgic read for me. As I said, book 12 out of 15. I'm slowly chugging through on my reread, and I can't tell you anything about this because it's book 12. But Claire and our main characters are encountering a new type of threat, and there's lots of drama, lots of emotions, and it's a chunky one. But yeah, 4 stars. I flew through this. I love these books so much. Now to breathe and slow down, because my second best book of the month was Tender as the Flesh by Augustina Bazterrica. So this was my book club pick for the month for Chloe's Crime Scene Corner. So obviously on this month we were doing a dark fiction, this being a horror. This is about a society where you can no longer eat animal meat. You have to eat humans instead if you'd like to eat meat. And it is very, very graphic about the story of about the process of butchering humans for consumption and how humans who are bred for consumption are treated. very, very graphic, very, very disturbing. I'm so glad I read this over 5 days, 4 or 5 days, because I could just stop and breathe and then go and eat my dinner and not really worry about it too much. I don't think I would recommend it. I feel like if you're interested in this anyway, then please do pick it up. But don't go for this if you're not sure, because it's not for everyone. And finally, my 5-star read of the month, which is my first 5-star that isn't a reread since May, guys, is It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. And oh my god, I loved this book so much. It was so emotional. This is about Lily, who hasn't always had it easy, but that's never stopped her from working hard for the life she wants. And she meets Ryle, who is assertive, he is stubborn, he is just a bit of an arse actually, and nothing really happens on their first meeting, but maybe something does after. This is an amazing story. It has flashbacks back to Lily's teenage years, where there is also something very, very, very big that happened. And it focuses on adult relationships, physical and emotional abuse. So definitely do know that going in. It does say, with this bold and deeply personal novel, Colleen Hoover delivers a heart-wrenching story that breaks exciting new ground for her as a writer. It Ends With Us is an unforgettable tale of love that comes at the ultimate price, and oh my god, it is. I loved this so much. This will be on my best books of 2021. So there we have it. They are all 21 books that I read in November. Please do let me know down in the comments if you have read any of these, if you have any strong opinions, if you have any recommendations. Now that I loved this one, I would love some more 5-star reads. But yeah, on that note, I guess that's all I have time to say. So thank you very much for watching this video. I really do hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in my next one.